What if your next solo road trip, or your first solo road trip, isn't just a journey from point A to point B? What if it became a transformative adventure designed just for you, based on what you hold most dear? Hey, I'm Bing from Wonder Bing Travel, and I'm here to inspire and equip you to create your own one-of-a-kind solo road trip. Over the years, I've driven over 60,000 miles across the US, and every single trip I've taken has taught me that the best adventures are the ones that are infused with passion, with wonder, and a personal connection to what makes my life meaningful. Today, this is our third video in our series, How to Plan the Perfect Solo Road Trip in 2025. And we're talking about how to use your passions to plan a road trip that is uniquely yours. If you've missed the earlier videos, check out the playlist here to get the full picture. But don't worry, each video stands alone, so joining in here is just fine. Let's dive into the heart of what makes a solo road trip so magical. Wait, shoot. Well, one thing. I always forget this. Let me give you one thing first. I know that the number one hang up for women to solo travel is a concern for their safety, and that is completely understandable. And so I created this guide. It's called the Super Simple Guide to Solo Road Trip Safety. I'll add the link in the description below, and you can grab that, and then we can get on with the fun stuff. Planning a road trip is not just about practicalities like budgets and itineraries. They're super important, they're vital to the cause, but they'll come later. First, we need to bridge the why do I want to take a solo road trip with the how in the world do I take a solo road trip by focusing on what you love. So we're going to talk about bridges for a second here. So imagine the bridge like the one over Deception Pass near Anacortes, Washington. It's pictured here, and it's beautiful. It towers over turbulent water, and it connects two very solid points. That's what we're doing today. We're building that connection between the wonder-filled why of your road trip and the practical steps that we will take later. So that bridge is really your heart in a way. Start with your heart. I know, it sounds super cheesy. You likely are not going to find too many channels about road tripping and videos that are going to give you that advice, but that's what makes Wonder Bing Travel unique. I want you to pay attention to what I call your internal signposts, and those are going to point you toward places and experiences that are going to make your trip unique to you and totally unforgettable and even transformational. So what are these internal signposts? These are the gut instincts, those emotional tugs that guide you. So maybe you've always wanted to visit the setting of a favorite book that just has come alive in your mind. Or there is a town somewhere where your family comes from that you've never seen. Or you want to wander through some hidden bookstore that you read about on Instagram. Those aren't random impulses. They're uniquely yours. You've read something, seen something, experienced something, and it touched you. And this is your opportunity to act on that. So I hope you'll take a moment to reflect. What is it that moves you? What brings a lump to your throat or tears to your eyes? What is important to you? We're going to take a minute to talk about three really important pieces of that as it relates to solo road tripping. And remember that a solo road trip is where you get to make all the decisions. You can also look at that as, oh my gosh, I have to make all the decisions. But I promise you, it's a good thing no matter how you look at it. Okay, the first signpost we're going to look at is tears. I know that seems like a weird place to start, but I don't mean the sad kind, but the ones that spring up when your heart connects with something meaningful. Emily P. Freeman, who's one of my favorite authors, calls tears tiny messengers that tell us where our hearts beat strongest. The signpost of our tears is definitely different for everybody. It might come when you are in the middle of church, or it might come when you're standing outside in a beautiful meadow, or there's a song that comes on the radio, or some cherished memory that pops up in your mind, or a photo of your children when they were little. These moments are all clues. They're signposts to the wonder that you're seeking. Think about it. You want to take a trip that fills you up, brings you joy and peace and wonder. And if you start by thinking a bit about the things that make you cry in this way, isn't that a great indication of seeking out what's meaningful? So a quick example for me would be the Grand Tetons. And if you haven't read my book, There's Wonder Around the Bend, I do tell a longer version of the story, but it was, for me, I vividly remember that feeling that made me cry, and it still happens to me. It happened to me this summer when I come around the bend, literally, and the Grand Tetons are just staring me in the face. There is something so awe-inspiring about them, and that takes my breath away and makes me cry every single time. Part of it is a connection to family, because I was first there with my parents and my sister when I was 12 years old, and it was just such a mind-blowing experience for me because I'd never seen anything like that before. But that's something that makes me cry, and I know I have a deep connection to the Tetons and also just all those Western mountains. Let's go on to the second signpost that will help guide your decision-making about where you want to go, and that is your treasures. What is it that you hold dear? Is it something tangible, like a piece of family history, or something intangible, like the need for quiet time or a sense of purpose? We all treasure different things, and usually they are tangible and intangible. Your treasures reveal what matters most to you, and they are invaluable tools for planning your trip. So one of the things that I treasure is the feeling of walking through a small town that I've never been in before and exploring around every nook and cranny and corner, talking to people, trying new food, popping into a coffee shop, going to a bookstore, shopping, just wandering. That is such a treasure to me. I love all of those things so much, and they hold deep meaning for me. So knowing that I treasure those experiences and how that makes me feel makes it really easy for me to add some small towns to my list when I am road trip planning. So think about that. What are some things that you treasure, and how can they be connected to places that you may want to visit or things that you may want to see? So number 3 is passion. What excites you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What lights your fire? Your passions are absolutely fuel for your road trip. Whether it's art or history, hiking, connecting with other people, make space for those when you are planning. Think about what makes you feel alive and incorporate that into your itinerary. It could be a very particular experience or just an area that you want to explore. An example for me is that during the years when I homeschooled my children, I developed this kind of quirky passion for Lewis and Clark's expedition. We read a ton about it, I've watched a lot of documentaries, and I love that their story spans such a large swath of America. So when I started road tripping in earnest, I was always on the lookout in the central part of the US and the West for things related to Lewis and Clark. I've now seen and stayed in more Lewis and Clark this and that than I can even count at this point. But one place that I really wanted to go was the Lewis and Clark National Historical Park in Oregon. I wanted to stand where Lewis and Clark stood when they finally caught a glimpse of the Pacific for the first time. So a few years ago, on a solo road trip through the Pacific Northwest, I stopped for an afternoon and hiked and explored the visitor center, and it was magical and incredibly meaningful to me. So you see, your tears, your treasures, and your passions, they are your roadmap. They lead you to places and moments that are going to help you create a journey that is unique to you and like no other. I have a little homework for you this week. I'd love for you to take some time this week to journal if you do, or scribble on a piece of paper, or in the notes app on your phone if you don't. And journal about your treasures, your passions, and the moments that in your memory bring tears to your eyes. These are building blocks of your perfect solo road trip. Remember, this isn't just a vacation. It's a transformative adventure, and it's designed to refresh, renew, and restore your spirit as you seek freedom and wonder wherever it is that you decide to go. If this video inspired you, please subscribe to the channel, and that way you won't miss the next video in our series where we will start turning these ideas into practical plans. In part 4, we are building a treasure map. It's one of my favorite topics to share with solo road trippers, and I can't wait to do that with you. Until then, keep dreaming, keep planning. Remember that there's wonder around every bend, and if you're still worried about safety, as well you should be, check out my super simple guide to road trip safety. Check that off your list and come back for more wonder next time. I'll see you on the road.